Welcome to the Break Mortar Cloud podcast, where we share about scaling stories in F&B and retail. This podcast is produced by Staff Annie and Nick Chan. I'm Janson, one of the co-founders of Staff Annie, and today we have Eileen from DMK sharing more about her stories.
Hello.
All right, Eileen, can you give a quick introduction of yourself?
Okay, so I'm Eileen and I'm the second generation owner and chief creative officer at DMK. So I'm very lucky to be able to do the things that I love. DMK, apart from being a fashion footwear and accessories brand, is actually also a family business that was started by my parents back in the year 2000. So right now, what I oversee is all the creative related departments in the company, including branding, marketing, product design, all the different teams that are involved. My older sister, Sophia, is also in the family business. Thankfully, we are like yin and yang. So she really likes numbers. I'm not a fan. I love art. She's not a fan. So we really complement each other's strengths very well. So she's actually the chief operating officer where she oversees the operations. And for me, I oversee everything that's creative and art related.
That's awesome. You mentioned that it's a 2-decade-old business started by your parents.
Yeah.
How has that journey been? Is there like different phases of that business, and how are you guys scaling and evolving the different generations of running the business right now?
Actually, that's a very good question. I think back then when my parents started versus now is really very different. Obviously, one of the biggest change is the digitalization and how technology really disrupted how the entire industry works. So just a little bit of background. My parents actually started a business because my mom, she's relatively vain. She likes dressing up, but she has white feet because she has this condition called a bunion. So a bunion is a condition where your bone protrudes either on the inner or outer part of your feet, resulting in you having wider feet than usual. So as a result of that, she cannot find shoes that are comfortable and look good at the same time. It's usually either or.
Right.
So either she didn't want to be caught dead in a very comfortable shoe, or she didn't want to, she would feel like she was dying in a pair of shoes because it's too painful for her feet. So because she and my dad already had fashion footwear experience, they decided to set up this brand to help other women like herself. And back then, you don't have Facebook, you got no Instagram, there's no such things. Everything was really spread through word of mouth. So I think that was honestly the most impressive part, which is the business really sustained itself through word of mouth for almost 2 decades.
Right.
But it's also testament about how our products really resonated with the market, because a lot of Asian women face this problem of having white feet.
Right.
Yeah, so fast forward to the year 2020, COVID hit us. The other thing that hit Sophia and I, which is my older sister and I, is actually our quarter-life crisis. It's really a condition where you lie in bed questioning about the next 20 years of your life, especially when COVID really hits you and you're stuck at home doing nothing and there's no social interaction as well. So me and my sister, we started working in DMK ever since we graduated. And since it's been a few years, last time we don't do marketing, we don't do branding. 95% of the time it's just focused on, okay, what's the best seller? What is moving well right now? What human resources do we need to support? For example, we need to have an atrium fair, or let's say we need to launch more boutiques. What are the type of things that we need to support the retail aspect? So we didn't really focus a lot on marketing, didn't really focus on anything else apart from product and logistics. So during that COVID period, we were really struck by the quarter-life crisis and really began to question, well, we know that the products provided value, right? Is this something that we want to do for the next 20 years? I mean, obviously not. So we didn't want to just look at numbers, and we decided to take a step back to really rethink about what we wanted for the brand for perhaps the next 20 years, in fact. And we realized that DMK has really started out because my parents wanted to help women to look and feel good through fashion, and also to create a more inclusive type of product for fashion, because a lot of Asian women struggle with this problem as well. But since we've been helping women to achieve a balanced look and feel good through fashion, why not we go beyond that? So as a result of that, since 2020, we actually rebranded. We went from working with 0 influencers to now working with more than 300.
Wow, there's a
We
lot.
went with 0 media coverage to appearing on Straits Times, Icon Magazine, Tattle Magazine, and so thankful for everybody's support because they really saw the value in the brand and what we really wanted to represent. And I think beyond that, it wasn't just about products, right? It was really going beyond products. And that's when we really started to work with social organizations, from Breast Cancer Foundation to Daughters of Tomorrow, to right now, we're actually partnering a long-term partnership with Resilience Collective to help support the youth's mental health as well.
That's awesome. If I were to pick up 1 or 2 focus areas that caught my attention, The first one is about fixing a problem that your parents face herself,
Yes.
about white feet and all. That reminded me of my journey of starting Staff Any actually, because when we first started, it was solving my problem when I was operating at F&B and felt there was a challenge dealing with hourly workers. At the same time, I think that you and your sister, as well as the entire scale up process and looking at more than just what you guys did 20 years ago and evolving and innovating from that is really, really inspiring, and looking forward to hear more about some of these initiatives in detail later part of the show. Maybe for people that don't know, for DMK Shoes, what's the main business model for you guys? Are you all mainly offline, online? What's the actual business model compared to other retail brands?
So for us, our business model, we started off as a retail brick and mortar brand, and then we gradually moved into online. And the funny thing was, before 2020, before COVID, right, most of our customers use our online platform as more like a catalog. For people who purchase from us online, they were mainly our customers who have purchased from us before.
Right.
And then, during COVID, you would think that, as a business that sells shoes and bags that people wear when they go out, we would definitely be affected, which we were by all the lockdowns because we have so many retail stores around Singapore. But one thing that shocked us was our online sales actually grew by leaps and bounds, like triple digit percentages.
That's
and
awesome.
I think, that's awesome, and caught us a little bit off guard. And I think ever since then, there was really a shift towards people's mentality when it comes to purchasing online, especially shoes. Because before COVID, Singapore is so small anyways. If you really wanted to buy a pair of shoes, you could travel to a shopping mall that had a DMK boutique and you could easily get it.
Was that because there's a strategy of maybe a free return policy or something? What's the strategy? What do y'all do that make people have the confidence to buy shoe purely online and not go down to your retail experience?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think firstly, we offer free returns and exchanges within a certain type of period. Right. And on top of that, we also try to lower, for example, the barrier to entry if someone wanted to try a new product, like offering them a first-time promotion code or offering certain type of discounts.
Right.
So we try to make it as friendly as possible. And we also have a customer service team that's dedicated to just offering support for online customers as well.
That's super. So how many retail outlets do you have right now, island-wide?
So currently we have 6, but this year itself, we're looking to open at least 2 more. One is actually along the way, is at Alexandra Retail Centre.
That's awesome. So 8 for lucky 8 this year.
Yes.
So you mentioned that you meant a lot more online, and you see that the online revenue has improved by multiple digits, right? Triple digit growth and stuff like that. Is there any cannibalization on your retail business, or retail is also doing very strong? There's still very good progress despite both offline and online are doing very, very well in that sense.
Honestly, I feel that for online purchases, it's really just a complement towards offline. At the end of the day, a lot of our customers still prefer to go to the brick and mortar store to try and feel. And apart from that, we do offer services on offline that is not available online. For example, if you were to purchase offline, you will get an expansion service, bombing service, and then our feet stylists, who are actually our sales associates on ground. They are very experienced to teach you how to style certain type of products or certain type of clothes. And these are things that are not available online, which is understandable because what online shopping platform offers is really convenience mainly.
Right.
So I think it's still okay. And apart from that, last time before 2020, the type of customers who knew about us was mainly people who grew up with the brand. So millennials and up, slightly older than millennials. And those millennials who knew about us was mainly because their mom purchased from us before. After all, we've been around for quite a long time. But ever since we rebranded, we do see that there was a shift towards a larger, younger demographic, and which we are very thankful for as well. That's awesome. I think so far it hasn't cannibalized, and in fact it has helped to further spur it.
So Eileen, you mentioned a lot about the rebranding as a strategy. Could you share some advice to people that are maybe in the industry for 10, 20 years that are looking at rebranding as an option to revitalize growth?
I think that's a very good question. Ever since we rebranded, I've been asked a lot about whether rebranding is useful and how to really rebrand. I just want to set a bit of context. Although everything seems to make sense right now when we're looking back, the context of our rebranding, the backdrop of it was the pandemic era. We were in the business of selling shoes and bags for women to use when they go out. So obviously our business was affected. Lockdowns were happening, people were not going out, retail stores were not open. The only platform that was running was our online platform, which grew. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was still very reliant on our retail stores. So in the middle of that, where the right thing to do and the logical thing to do that most people would do is cut costs. And the first thing that goes out the window is marketing budget. And there I was, discussing with my parents who were still quite involved as the marketing, as the management team back then, going to them, knocking on their door and go like, I think we should rebrand. I think we should increase our marketing budget, start working with more influencers in the middle of the pandemic. Yes, it is the right opportunity to do so. So obviously they were quite shocked. And apart from that, last time they were very used to the old traditional method of if a product works, it works well, people will spread through word of mouth. But obviously the era is quite different right now. And thankfully we made the right choice to really rebrand and to step up despite the challenges in the economy and the uncertainties. But if anyone were to ask me, should a 2-decade-old or 3-decade-old brand rebrand, my answer would really be, this really depends on your business, and also it depends on what your customers are saying. I was really quite confident about the rebranding is because we really did a lot of market research prior to that. So what we did was sort of like a blind test. When we ask people what they know about DMK or whether they know of DMK, especially the younger generation, what do they think about DMK? The answer was quite similar back then in 2020. It's either, oh, my mom bought from this brand, or like, my mom introduced this brand to me when I was 14, 15, 13, when I had choir and I needed a pair of covered shoes or had presentations. So that was the kind of mindset and mentality that people had, that we were a little bit mature in terms of the branding wise. But we knew for sure that our products were still very relevant for the market because we really always follow fashion trends. But it's just what people impression of.
Right?
Yeah, the perception of the brand. So the blind test came in when we show people the products that we had. And then we asked them, oh, would you wear this? Would you wear that? And they went, oh, actually, this is very nice. I didn't know DMK offers this type of products. So that was when we knew that our problem really lied not in the products, but really in the perception of the brand and what people perceive us to carry as a brand in terms of our product line.
Right.
And of course, apart from that, during the rebranding, we expanded our entire product line. Last time, we were very known for work shoes. I think about 80% of our products were workwear. But right now, we actually also focus on occasion wear, casual wear. And the reason is because ever since our rebranding, we didn't just revamp our products, we actually revamped our entire mission to support women on their journey with courage through every milestone to help them look and feel good through fashion and beyond. So when we think about milestone, it's not just work, it's also like, your first date, your first interview, your first job. There's so many different areas that we can focus on, and that's when we really started expanding. And that makes sense for us in terms of rebranding because that was the problem that our business had.
Right.
But let's say, for example, your F&B business. Just now you mentioned F&B, right? And your branding is beautiful. Your store is very nice. A lot of influencers have really promoted for you. But there's still a problem of retaining customers. Then perhaps through market research, you would realize that it could be other areas, for example, service, and that's where HR really comes in. Another part could be the product. Maybe the taste of the taste palette the taste of the food might not really suit the taste palette of the consumer group that you're targeting.
Right.
So I think it really depends on what it is. Perhaps sometimes as a traditional business that's been around for 30 years, in fact, that traditional branding would be even better than if you were too modern. Right. So I think really understand your customers before deciding on any working with 300 influencers and going on a whole rebranding process. I think that would be more convincing if especially you have management involved.
That's awesome. I think that there's a few good first principles here, right? Like making sure that you really have retention nailed down first before you invest in rocket fuel, right? Whether is it influencer marketing or rebranding or whatnot. Because if you don't have the retention of the users, you don't have a good product that people come back again and again for, then no matter how much you spend on marketing dollars, it's going to be a leaky bucket.
Yes.
At the same time, I think the other first principle that you shared that was really, really good is about iterating and getting your customer feedback, getting close with them. So it's a bit like our other episodes where our, business owners like, Kai from Hokelong and stuff ask customers for feedback all the time. I think you guys also did that secret Santa or secret survey thing to get the feedback of the product and from there, understand that you guys got a good footing. And then with the good footing, scale that investment in marketing. That's awesome. We're moving to the next part of the show where we talk about more of industry insights and tech stack. One thing I wanted to check with you is that, you guys were a family business at the start and then now you have a large team. How many people are there in your company right now? And, with so many people in your company now, are you guys a metrical or KPI driven business?
So we are close to 40 strong, both in front end and back end. Mm-hmm. When it comes to matrix, definitely. And in terms of matrix, it also depends on the type of departments that we are in. Let's say, for example, for creative wise, some people say that creativity is hard to measure. Right. Actually, I beg to differ. We have weekly KPI meetings when it comes to, for example, marketing. You can look at engagement, you can look at number of followers, you can look at what people are saying, how many DMs you're receiving. Mm-hmm. Of course, at the end of the day, the matrix still lies in the revenue. Yep. Yeah, how many people are clicking through and what the conversion rate is like. Awesome. So there are a lot of things that can relate to that, but how you translate the learnings is another thing. How you translate data is some other thing. Let's say, for example, if you were to put out an image and maybe the image doesn't get a lot of clicks, but it could be a variety of factors that affect it. It could be the color grading. It could be, for example, maybe the model or the talent doesn't really suit the product or it's not resonating with the audience. It could be maybe the lighting. It could be maybe the particular product in terms of how it's being placed or how it's being angled or like the background itself. So I think a lot of things can be derived from the numbers, but it really goes back to the experience that you have and the type of team members that you have as well.
For someone aspiring to start that online journey for their business, what is one key metric that you would advise them to take their eyes on and like look after first before looking at other metrics? Because there's a lot of like intermediary metrics and then there's the final metric and all. What's the one thing that you would like, hey, let me take a look at that to see whether if the online initiative is like on the right track or not?
Okay, so maybe going to the retail, let's say it's a retail startup. My advice would be not to look at the conversion first.
Okay.
At the end of the day, when we think about a marketing funnel, it's a whole funnel. It goes from awareness to consideration to conversion. So there are a lot of different steps that you take. Yeah. So ideally, we all hope that, once I push on an ad, it will what immediately.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't happen realistically. We hope that it will, but most times it doesn't. It really does take time. Even for example, our rebranding, it really took almost 2 to 3 years before we really started seeing results. Right. I think at the end of the day, the first step is really understanding whether you get awareness, continuously doing market research to see whether the sentiments of your customers have changed or whether they're even aware of you as a startup. I think that's a very good start. That's a very good matrix. And then looking at your engagement, moving forward, and also the number of followers they have increased. Because I think when it comes to Singaporean context, it's a little bit different. Singaporeans might not engage as much, especially on certain platforms like Instagram or Facebook. But if they do, it really means that they genuinely like the brand and they genuinely like the product. So similarly, in terms of followers, I think that's also a very good count.
That's awesome. How about we look at ratios in the offline space? So I mean, you have like your 7 shop opening and maybe 8 coming up. So what is that key metric that you like to track as a retail business, right? If let's say I want to start my own shoe brand now, right? For narrow fit shoes, what should be that KPI that I should look at and brief at, every single day? What's that metric that you guys are very concerned about on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to any business, whether it's offline or online, it will definitely be sales.
Still sales, yeah, for sure.
And for offline, all the more so. As we all know, Singapore rental is expensive. Labor is very expensive as well.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it must make sense. We are also not a business. We are also a fully self-funded business.
Right.
So we have to make sure that this boutique is profitable.
Right.
And that can ensure longevity to it.
Right. Is there like ratio, like in terms of like specifically SKUs sold per square feet of rent that you all have, or like the floor space that you take, right? Or is there like a sales with the labor kind of ratio to make sure that you have equipped yourself with enough staff per retail outlet to ensure that they have a good customer experience? Is there such ratios that you guys track and manage in your business?
So in terms of ratios, I think one of the key things that you mentioned just now, which is a challenge for every retail brand, would definitely be the labor aspect. As you all know, for example, front-end labor, firstly, is very, very labor intensive because you are very customer facing. Right. There's a lot of patience needed and of course a lot of physical energy that's required as well. Right. So I think that would definitely be something that we focus on. How can we ensure productivity? Right. But at the same time, ensure that we manage the labor enough such that with the influx of more customers, there will be enough service staff that is able to assist and provide a good shopping experience for our customers as well. Right. Yeah, so I think that is one aspect that we look at. Firstly, we look at by the hourly. So we do a breakdown of like, for example, hourly sales, and then which are the peak periods. We identify that peak periods, and then from there on, then we allocate how much manpower is actually required. That is
super detailed. I mean that you guys are actually doing a really good job in managing the labor costs.
Thank you.
In F&B, in our last interviews, people are always aiming for labor cost to sales ratio to be below 30%. I mean, some of them were saying that if you hit 25, it's very good, 28 is very good. But when you look at like retail business, it's usually in the teens percent, like 15, 18, thereabout. In your guidance to other people running retail business, what should be a ratio they should be aiming for in a retail business for, let's say, labor cost in respect to like sales, kind of like a target?
Actually, I just want to add on for retail brands, right? There are a lot of different forms of retail brands.
Right.
Let's say, for example, if I'm a clothing store, all the sizes are displayed on the rack. I might not need as much manpower.
True.
Whereas if I'm a luxury brand, I need that 1:1 or 1:2 ratio. That one will require a little
Customer
bit more
experience.
manpower. So at the end of the day, it really still goes back to what is your business model, like what you accurately mentioned earlier. What is the type of customers that you're serving? What's the type of experience that they are expecting? And then from there on, then you decide on what's the ratio that best fits the customers. There's no 100% right or wrong. Maybe I'm a fast fashion footwear brand, but another fast fashion footwear brand might feel like another ratio might work better for them.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's really trying out a lot of different methods like A/B testing,
Right.
ABCDE testing, and then seeing what's the method that works best, what provides the best experience that doesn't result in negative feedback and in fact more positive feedback. But at the same time, manage the cost very well.
Right. So I think what you're trying to summarize also is that there's no one size fit all, right?
Yes.
And all of us is a bit different depending on model. So maybe talk about the digitalization and scaling aspect. I mean, you went into this whole, of course, with influencer marketing as well as offline to online, shift. What is one of the technological initiative or digitalization initiative you have done to actually achieve this goal? Like, is there something you can share with the audience?
Actually, one of the most exciting things that we have done last year, end of the year till this year, was we revamped our entire website experience. The website revamp itself took close to 1 year plus. It was a very long time because a lot of the front part was spent on user research. We went through a lot of user testing, got a lot of users to test out before we went live. And I think what was exciting about that was because back then our website was built on a custom HTML model.
Okay.
Which resulted in a good aspect, which is that it was able to we were able to create an experience that we wanted. But the negative part comes in where, technology is constantly changing and adapting. Customers are not just benchmarking you against other fashion footwear brands, for example, or not benchmarking us against other fashion footwear brands. They're benchmarking us against other online retailers. And with the upgrading of the apps and upgrading of the experiences, there's only so much custom HTML can do, and the type of back-end logistics, the type of manpower that you require is a lot more higher. So as a result of that, we decided to shift from custom HTML to Shopify. So in terms of the cost-wise, while we are able to cut back on the labor, of course, because Shopify itself has a monthly subscription, it's a little bit costly. But the user experience that's being provided is really quite different from back then for custom HTML. And there's a lot more flexibility, and there's a lot of type of apps that you're able to download. When customers or, for example, the audience, they make some type of requests, we're able to change it accordingly and keep more updated with the times.
Right. I think it's quite interesting sharing because when I talk to a lot of business owners, right, they always think the holy grail is to customize your own stuff. And then on your end, when you digitalize, you went the other way around. You went from customize your own stuff to now using Shopify, which is very much off the shelf, but with a lot of ability to customize stuff for retail and for online businesses. And I think you found success in that. What's the main thing apart from Shopify being a good product? Is there one or two features about there that you like to shout out about and say, hey, this is really good, that's why we love Shopify so much compared to doing it ourselves and building our own custom product?
Okay, I know this sounds crazy, but even simple things like back then for our custom HTML, right, the customers were not able to filter.
Oh, okay. So you need someone to build a filter function for you, right?
Yes, that's right.
I see.
Yeah, I know it sounds strange, but then because back then we really didn't put a lot of focus on our online platform. And this itself was something that came up over and over again because it really resulted in a lot more convenience for the shoppers. And more important than that, it resulted in a better shopping experience. Apart from that, we were able to track the customer journey a lot better, track a lot of the data a lot better because it's not built on a custom HTML platform. So there were less bugs and more accurate type of measurements and KPIs.
Right, super awesome. So for businesses that are looking to digitalize, maybe customizing everything for yourself may not be the best solution because you might spend more time, working on bugs and fixing a filter function which other people should build already.
Yes.
And that's pretty important and key learning. So what's next for the next few years? What's the plan for the scaling the business for the next couple of years, 3-5 years later?
So actually for the online platform, we are not just doing it because we want to create a better shopping experience for women in Singapore. We're really doing it because we want to really spread the word about how women deserve to get the best of both worlds when it comes to fashion, to look and feel good at the same time internationally. So even right now, right, as we are speaking, a lot of people still believe that there's no beauty without pain. Right? And then no pain, no gain. If you want to wear a pair of pretty heels, it's definitely gonna hurt. And it's like this very old saying. You see a lot of industries, I'm very passionate about this. You see a lot of industries have evolved, like sportswear. you wear a Nike t-shirt. It's supposed to dry fit, very comfortable, make you look hot while you're working out. And then at the same time, it's supposed to make the sweat dry a lot faster. And at the same time, it come in very nice colorways, be very comfortable, feel like second skin. But when it comes to shoes,
still not yet.
It's still not it. It's still not it. You touch a pair of shoes and then you think to yourself, well, this is gonna hurt, but I have to suffer because that's
I want
what
to look
it's
good,
meant
so
to
I have
be.
to suffer, which is
Exactly.
not the case that it should be, right?
Exactly. But we know that's not true because
Right.
we've been around for the past 2 decades and we have spent so much time working in factories directly, and we have revolutionized the entire production method such that even if the shoe looks super pointy and slick and slim, even if you have wide feet or narrow feet, when you wear it, it's still really comfortable.
That's super awesome.
Yeah, so what we are here to do is really to revolutionize the entire fashion footwear industry for women. And by using the online platform and by constantly adapting and updating ourselves according to the trends and what people really need in terms of the functionalities, that helps us to be able to reach out to a wider audience in a much better and efficient way.
That's super awesome. We've come to the last part of our show, which is the rapid fire questions. So I'll ask a quick question and you try to answer in a few words, not more than a sentence if possible. Are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Okay, I will try. Summary is not my forte.
Who is someone in your industry that you learn a lot from?
My parents.
If you had one piece of advice to give someone that want to start out a retail business, what is one advice you would give them?
Not just retail, but don't let the lack of confidence stop you from trying something new.
If you have a son or daughter that's interested in the retail space and want to join you in this quest, what is advice for your son or daughter?
To my future son or daughter, please do a lot of research before you start anything.
So making an informed choice, right?
Yes, definitely.
If you were to actually go back to your shop right now and you have an event that you need to go for and you need to buy a very, very specific shoes, what is one type of shoes that you just love a lot that you think is you definitely would like to look at it and buy it for maybe a corporate event or something like that?
Oh my god, I'm wearing it right now. So it's actually this pair of Carrie Mary Janes. What I love about it is a little bit of heel. It's lined with super soft cushion all around and no one can see it, but you can feel it. And it's good for long standing. At the same time, it's a two-way shoe, so you can wear it as parallel straps or a crossover.
Okay, if you're not so disgusted later, we see if I can take it out and see what she's wearing, all right?
You'll see on the screen here.
How should people interested in following you or your brand follow you guys?
So we're actually on Instagram at DMK Shoes. We're also on TikTok at DMK Official. You can also follow us on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. If there's one aspiring entrepreneur wanting to go into the retail space, are you willing to offer a coffee session or a Zoom call to share more about your experience?
Always happy to share. But at this stage, I feel like there's still a lot to learn.
Awesome.
But learning is constant.
All right. So Eileen, thank you so much for your time. I really learned
Thank
a lot
you.
from your digitalization, rebranding, as well as scaling the business and very, very successfully going online as well as opening more offline stores. So kudos to that. And actually, we've come to the end of our podcast. So is there any final words you'd like to share with our audience?
Okay, so if there's any final words that I want to share from my journey so far, especially since the rebranding has taken place for the past 3+ years and we went from ground zero to so quickly, as important as it is to run, it is as important to rest.
All right. So make sure you rest on nice, good shoes so that you don't have the blisters on that.
This is the best marketer. I need to hire you.
All right. So if you guys give 100 likes, we'll see whether we can pull out her shoes to show you. All right.
Thank you
but
so
see you guys next time. Thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.